Creating the chest lid video. You should already have taken out your lid. The instructions are on our instructions page of installing the lid and taking it off, so you should be able to follow those and get to this point. Basically, you'll want to unhook the rod that's currently attached. You can take it off the servo end as well. That little brass coupler that's on the servo knuckle arm that the rod goes through will stay on there. You can just leave it. You can just rotate the rod to have another open arm pointing in the same direction as that one was. You could take it off if you want, but it's not worth it. So you're going to have your lid like this. You're going to want to take out all the 4 screws that are holding it on. And if you have the lighting, you're going to want to remove the lighting. It's just held on with some double stick VHT tape. So if you're really careful, you can pull that tape off. You're not going to need the tape anymore. And so it's okay if it stays on the lid, but basically you just don't want to rip it off and mess up this strip of lighting. If it does get messed up, I can send you another one. It's not very expensive, but easier if you can just maintain it as it is. So once you peel that off, you're going to just have the strip, and you can take the tape off of that as well. Maybe a little heat would help peeling that off with a heat gun. But yeah, just be really careful. And so then you're going to end up with, you're also going to take off the hinge. So you want to take off the screws that are holding this hinge on and those nuts and washers. So you'll have all those off the old lid. And then you're going to get the new lid, and excuse the prototype. Painting the other ones, but you're just going to reinstall the hinge in the same location, and then you're going to need to install your lighting strip. I have this one taped on just for my testing, but the lighting strip, basically, you can install it a bunch of different ways. My suggestion is hot glue. Basically, the way I was doing it before I was taping it is just putting a little bead of hot glue like down here in the front, and then a bead of hot glue just sort of on the back lip here, and just sticking it in there. You could use some thick super glue, some epoxy. Yeah, I mean, pretty much anything. It doesn't really get that much pull on it. And then just push it in there and hold it for a second, and you should be good. This little gizmo, this ball arm, will already come installed on yours. And that's what the rod is going to thread into on one end. And then you're ready to just put this guy back into your lid. Once the lights are attached, it will just go on the same way. There won't be a forced screw in there, and you should be ready to go put it back in the game, and that's where we'll pick this up. So here's the rod you'll get. It's going to have a clevis on one end attached to a threaded little rod, yellow internal and red external. And then on this end will be another threaded rod. And that open threaded rod is what's going to screw into this ball joint that's on the lid. And I would suggest just screwing it on before you put the lid in. You can just drop it from the top down. I think that's the easiest way, because basically what you're going to need to do is just spread this clevis pin apart. Let's get some focus there. Only one end is soldered on. The other end's sort of open, and just it goes right over the, come on, focus. Come on. There we go. So this end is just sort of a spring-loaded deal, and you can just spread it apart and slide it over the servo knuckle arm. Both ends have that threaded rod, so you can adjust the length by about a ½ inch, so that should be more than enough. Worst case scenario, for some reason your arm is too long and you can't shorten it enough, you can cut this yellow inner tube. Just unscrew one of these threaded rods. You can use a piece. You can use some pliers right in the middle, right at this end, so you don't mess up too many threads. And then you can cut it and screw it back in. So that's how you could make it shorter if you need to. But hopefully they're all about the same length. So you should be good with the pre-cut one. So this is what it should look like, because you have your lid off right now, although your servo probably is still attached, or your coil there. Basically, you're just going to take the rod and thread it down through the slot there that your old rod was going through, right down there. And then you can attach your lid just like you had it attached before. And if you were smart, maybe you noted the position of your bracket and the way the hinge was on there, so that you approximately lined it up in the same place. So go ahead and attach that, put your nuts on there, and then lift up the playfield. And then, like I said, you're just going to spread that knuckle and slide it over the servo, the clevis, and slide it over the knuckle on the servo. Well, on the servo. I'll show that real quick. So here's the underside of the playfield. You're going to have, if you're doing an upgrade, you're going to have probably the 4 arm knuckle on there. It doesn't matter whether you have the 2 or the 4, but you'll probably have a brass bushing in one of the holes here. And so what you're going to want to do is just take this off with the screw and flip it to another one of the arms so it's pointing up and down. I'm going to, I think, release a new version of the code, v1.2, that's going to actually change the orientation and is going to want you to have the arm attached down here, the rod attached on here. That makes it so the rod has less bending to do to get up to here. I don't think it really matters necessarily. It's just a nitpick that I had that should have been that way from the beginning. So that's what I'm going to do. So if you get a new one from about the end of October on, then you'll have the new code, and it will go in the other way. So here's the clevis that we talked about. You're just going to spread that apart and push the little nub that's in there in one of the holes in the servo arm there, and then just close it up. That's really all there is to the under playfield installation. Obviously, if it's your first time, you're gonna have to do some adjustments, so refer to the rest of the videos for that. But if you're upgrading, then hopefully most of your adjustments are done, and you can just put this rod in and set any length adjustments you need to. You can loosen this arm and move it back or forward if you need to, depending on, if you need to move that one back or forward, or that one back and forward, depending on where it's attached. Or obviously you can lengthen and shorten the rod by turning either end and increasing the length or decreasing the length. So that should be it.